We are live. What the Puck, episode 3. We got myself, Keith Cav Jr. We got our boy Matt Vecchio, MVecchio81, and we're ready for another round of betting, another round of DFS. We had some great NHL games still going on. Vecchio's Penguins are still holding on 2-1 right now. We love to see that. Great games last night. Avs kind of absolutely handled the Blues. Their top line went off. Vecchio, any thoughts on the games last night?
I mean, hate to say it, but Bennington gave that team a chance on
He
against
played
Colorado.
good.
What
He
do you think?
played
50
good.
shots? I mean, his
He had a
offense
good
has
game.
got to do something for him going forward. To give, he stood on his head and kept them in the game, and they did nothing. I mean,
No Perron really
Grubauer
hurt.
wasn't outstanding, but
He didn't need to be.
no, he played. What do you think? 25, 26 shots, something like that. I don't even know how many, but
yeah, he didn't need to be outstanding. That Avs team
no.
was a wagon. But yeah, crazy games yesterday. We got the Bruins tied it back up in overtime. We had what was the other game? Oh, the Hurricanes. Hurricanes won 5-2.
Yes,
Jordan Staal, probably a great value play in DFS, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mentioned him the other night too because I said he plays power play one with the big guys, so you get him cheap, and he had a night.
A couple cheap goals, but hey, I mean the one was nice, and then the second one was just get it to the net, get pucks to the net. They go in sometimes.
You know what? I played hockey my whole entire life. My father was always a coach, and every time, hey, always just put the puck on net. You never know what's going to happen. Throw the puck towards the net and see what happens, and that's what happened last night. A couple of bad bounces and goals.
That's what happened. And now we're going into preview the Wednesday slate of games. It is our first 4-game slate on the playoff docket. Also, the last regular season game for the North Division, which is good news for everyone involved because no one really wants to see this meaningless regular season game just for money. Obviously, the Canucks don't want to play it. The Flames don't want to play it. They already have Gaudreau and a couple guys out for the season, so it just seems worthless at this point. But yeah, thank God we got some 4 games playoffs. So let's dive right in head first. We got the Capitals and we got the Bruins. So that series is now tied at 1 apiece. We got the Capitals at plus 140 on the money line. Bruins minus 162. Pretty big home favorites. They're heading home in game 3. Obviously, the total's at 5.5 again. Another plus money over at 5.5. And then we got the spread. Minus 1.5 will pay out plus 155, plus 1.5 for the Caps, minus 190. Look at the series prices, man. They've been bouncing back and forth. Bruins went from minus 143 to start all the way up to plus 120. Now they're minus 180 after tying it up 1-1. I'm betting on this game. I really don't. There might be a little value on taking the Cap series. They opened at plus 118 and now they're plus 145. But I really like the Bruins here. They looked good yesterday. Even though they had to force it to overtime to win, both games now going to overtime. Neither team I really like on the money line value or puck line. Over, like you might want to take that plus money over again. 5.5 is not a lot, especially if Anderson's in net again. It looks like it's probably 50-50 coin flip between him or Samsonov getting the net tomorrow. But yeah, those are my thoughts on that game. Probably not going to touch the money line. Vecchio, how's the DFS looking?
I mean, this game, kind of what we liked the other night, we'll kind of go back to. Obviously, Boston's top line is one of the top lines on the slate, but we have McDavid on the slate, so you might actually see Boston get a little bit less ownership because everyone's going to want to play McDavid. So Boston 1 will be expensive, obviously, but if you're playing tournaments, it wouldn't be a bad idea to get some exposure to them. I mean, in cash, obviously, we'll talk about McDavid there, but I really like Boston 3. The third line was really good the other night. Rusk had a really great night. Same to go along with Charlie Coyle and Richie. Richie plays in the first power play, so I don't mind like a DeBrusk Richie 2-man. They both were pretty good the other night, and Richie gets that first power play time. But otherwise, on the other side, for Washington, it's their first and third line. Washington's second line is I don't know what they're doing with this. The second line is Eller, Raffle, and Sheary, so I'm not really interested in that.
I didn't even realize that they split up their first and third line, so now Mantha's on the first line, and they have Sprong with Oshie and Wilson on the third line.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So that line actually is more intriguing to me than the second line. And if you really want to get crazy and you're playing some if you're doing like I'm doing right now to test the optimizer out and playing 20 lineups or so, I don't mind the fourth line. Nick Dowd had the overtime winner in game 1. Hathaway had 2 goals on Monday night. So, I mean, if you want to get real different and you're playing a bunch of lineups or something, or you a large field GPP, maybe give that fourth line a little look to be different. But otherwise, I mean, it's the same guys on defense as it always is: Carlson, Schultz, Grzelcyk, McAvoy. And I don't think I'm playing either goalie in this game. I mean, Rask was okay the other night. Anderson made us all look stupid by having a 45 or 44 save game in the win, the loss. I mean, but I don't know that I want to take a chance on either of them. There's a couple other goalies in this slate that I think may be better off with.
And when you mentioned too, good for Jacob Rusk, right? A guy who's kind of health bombed about halfway through the year, really picking it up in the playoffs. He was a first round pick. Signed a pretty good, RFA bridge deal. There were some rumors that they might end up trading him, so it's good that he got some trust back in Cassidy's lineup. But yeah, so that's the first game on the slate. Let's pop over to game 2 now. We got the Predators and the Hurricanes. Hurricanes lead that series 1-0. Carolina looked great in game 1. Nashville didn't, I would say. We got the Hurricanes are minus 195 on the money line. Predators plus 165. We got that over-unders actually set at 5.5. Another plus money over. You're getting it about plus 1. You can get a plus 120 at William Hill. And then spread. So if you're going to take the Hurricanes on the puck line at minus 1.5, you can get a plus 150 payout also on William Hill. Predators covering a goal and a half gets you about minus 170. So I think from a betting perspective, if you look at the series prices, man, the Hurricanes jumped. They went from minus 240 to minus 500 now after that game 1 win. Predators, on the other hand, are now all the way up to plus 360 from plus 190. If we're being honest here, I kind of like the value on the Predators on the money line tomorrow at that plus 165, plus 170 number. Even though they didn't necessarily play a great game, it's not like Carolina's stars really came out and shined yesterday. They got some depth scoring, as we mentioned, from Jordan Staal. And I really think that UC Saros is the kind of goalie that can steal a game in the playoffs. He's the kind of guy, like the Predators kind of rode him all the way throughout the end of the season into the playoffs. And the Predators, Philip Forsberg had a nice goal yesterday. The Predators can score, and the Hurricanes have been a little inconsistent this season. For the most part, they've been taking care of business. But I don't think they're gonna roll the Predators. I don't think it's gonna be a sweep. I think there's definitely a game or two that the Predators can win, and I don't hate the value you're getting at it for tomorrow. How about on the DFS side? Like I mentioned, Forsberg had a nice night. That top line didn't really do much, but you're getting some depth on the Hurricanes side. What do we like for tomorrow on the DFS side?
You know what? I mean, it's kind of the same for both teams. It's a little funny with this game, but both of their third lines were pretty good the other on Monday night. Especially we talked about Staal. I mentioned Jesper Fast on Monday's show. He's still playing that power play. Svechnikov is on the first power play with Staal and Aho. So that's that, and Trocheck. So it's unfortunately you have 3 centers in there, so you can't play. I mean, you can play them all, but then you're really limiting your lineup the rest of the way. So it's a little hard to play the power play, but I don't mind Carolina. Maybe throw Svechnikov and Staal together with a defenseman or a just a 2-man. But I mean, the top 6 obviously is in play for Carolina. They're all really good. You got some cheap guys in Fogle and Neckash. So it's you can mix and match because the way they run their lines in the power play unit, you got guys on line 2 with guys on line 3 in the power play, and Teravainen and Niederreiter on the second power play, I believe, with guys from the third line. So that's an interesting play. You can kind of mix and match and get exposure to all 3 lines of Carolina. So I really like that. You can play it real differently, get different, which is kind of what you want on a small slate like this. You got to try and be different. So you can mix and match your plays and make that work. And then as far as Nashville goes, their third line, another cheap line, and Tanner Janot, I recall Matt Duchene was pretty good. Haula scored one of the 2 goals, along with the Conn Smythe winning mustache and Philip Forsberg, the other goal. But the second line for Nashville is my favorite. John Cook, Granlund, and Cunnin. And then, of course, you have the defense on both teams. You got high price defensemen in UC and Hamilton. If you want to pay up for them, by all means, go ahead. They're pretty much locks for their points. They're going to get you the points. You know that you can guarantee they're going to do something, and they're going to put up points because they always do every single game. But Jake Bean is a nice, interesting play on defense for Carolina because he plays second power play unit, so he's a guy who's real cheap and is playing second power play. And then in net, Nedeljkovic, I mean, he was really good Monday night. So I
wonder if there's any chance we'd see Mrazek in that in game 2 if they kind of try and keep both goalies fresh, because I don't see much of a difference between the two as far as numbers go.
I guess you could see that. I don't think so. I mean, he won game 1. Why do you change goalie? If you lost game 1, I could see Nashville play Rene because he has playoff experience, gone to a cup final. I don't like it, but I mean, they lost the game. Maybe
right.
if they lose on Wednesday, I think Nashville has to change goalies, especially if it's another 5-6 goal game or something like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that game.
Yeah, good stuff. And then we can roll into the first North Division playoff game, the only game one on the slate tomorrow. We got the Jets, we got the Oilers, we got Connor McDavid and his 105 points this year, 33 goals, 72 assists. Absolute legend. So we got the series prices for this series. We got minus 175 Edmonton and plus 140 for Winnipeg. Looking at the money lines for the game tomorrow, you're getting Edmonton's minus 165, Jets are plus 140. The over-under set at 6. And then the spread you can get on the puck line, minus 1.5 for the Oilers, pays out about plus 165. Plus 1.5 for the Jets pays out about minus 186 up to minus 200. Yeah, finally. I'm excited for the North Division playoffs to kind of get rolling a little bit. I'm excited to see McDavid and Draisaitl do their thing. I'm already got a Oilers Cup ticket, so I don't know if I love the series price because even though I think Edmonton's going to take care of business, minus 175 is a little steep for my liking. Even though Winnipeg kind of faltered down the stretch, their defense has been in shambles, and they have some injury concerns. So I could see you taking that Edmonton series price. Also, I think I might take them game 1. They're only minus 160, minus 165, so I don't think that's paying too much for Edmonton. I really think they come out game 1 and kind of attack Winnipeg. Like I mentioned, they kind of have some injury concerns. I don't think Dubois is not guaranteed to play. I think Stasny has having some problems. Wheeler's been injured all year. Ehlers hasn't played in the last month and a half. They said he should be good for playoffs, but Kopp's also been injured. So, I mean, there's a lot of question marks with Winnipeg, and I think Edmonton comes out strong tomorrow. Home ice. I don't think they're allowed fans in Edmonton yet. Montreal just announced they could get fans in the end of May. It's only 2,500. Canada's kind of behind the 8 ball on that standpoint. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of, if anything, I'm going to play the Edmonton money line. I'm not going to get cute with it and go on the puck line. But yeah, that's my insight on the betting perspective. Let's hear the DFS slate. Are we going to pay the hefty prices for McDavid, Draisaitl, etc.?
Well, I mean, if you're playing cash games, you have to play McDavid just because it's McDavid. He's probably going to have a 4-point night if they score 4 goals. If they score 5 goals, they'll have a 5-point night. It just seems like he's in on every goal that they score.
Highest percentage of teams' goals by one player, Connor McDavid, this season, all time. It was I think it was 55 or 56% of their team goals. He had a goal or an assist on.
That's insane. That's just absolutely insane. Like that's 1980s Gretzky stuff right there.
Yeah, they do on HockeyDB. They do points adjusted for era, and his was like 3rd or 4th highest behind like 2 monster Gretzky seasons and a monster Lemieux season. McDavid would have had like 170, 175 in that era.
I believe it. I mean, Edmonton, they're not deep when it comes to fantasy.
Top heavy.
It's line 1. It's McDavid. If you have the salary, you want to somehow make it work. I mean, you can play Draisaitl. The second line, I mean, Nugent Hopkins. Don't love him. I mean, he's all right with Draisaitl and Yamamoto on line 2. I don't love line 1 either, but you're gonna get Dominic Cahoon for next to nothing. I think he's mid-price on probably both sites. He's 2,800 on DraftKings. I don't know what he's on FanDuel, but he plays with McDavid. I mean, if you're looking to try to play a cash game, I wouldn't mind maybe take McDavid and Cahoon. Hope maybe Cahoon gets an assist or 2 on one of McDavid's goals. and it lets you fit in an Ovechkin or a Pasternak, or another high-end player, or like a Rantanen or something like that to kind of, if you're playing cash, if you're playing GPP, I don't mind fading McDavid just because he's probably going to be like 30, 40% owned, maybe even more than that. So to be different, look for Boston, Washington, Carolina, pay up for. But if you're playing cash, you have to play McDavid. You have to. And if you're even single entry, you have to play McDavid. But otherwise, I don't think. I mean, I'm playing 20 lineups. I won't fade them. I'll have them probably in 50% of them. And then as far as Winnipeg, their first line, I like that one. Connor, Scheifele, Wheeler, as long as everybody's healthy. You can mix it up and play Stasny if you're trying to save cash. Play Stasny in place of Connor to play a power play stack, or a Neil Pionk on defense. But I mean, Mason Appleton had himself a really great season. So he's somebody who's cheap on the third line. He plays second power play unit, I believe. Yeah. No, he doesn't actually. That's Perot does, which is weird. Appleton scores a bunch of goals this season, doesn't get power play time. But Andrew Kopp, if Dubois plays, the second line's okay. It's going to be different, but I mean, no one's going to play Winnipeg, so you don't have to be different with Winnipeg. Just play the top line, and that's pretty much it for Winnipeg. On defense, Barry and Nurse, obviously two of the best plays, but I like Adam Larson and Ethan Bear. They're both cheap, and they both will see time with McDavid at some point, and Draisaitl. So, you can play them, get exposure to them at Edmonton, and get cheap defense to balance your price for the high end forwards there. And then goalies, if you're playing GPP, I don't hate Hellebuck. Edmonton's going to shoot the puck a lot. Maybe they don't score 4 or 5 goals. They only net 2 or 3 goals, and he makes about 35 saves. He's 7,700 on DraftKings. I don't know the FanDuel price, but I'm sure he's close to the same or maybe a little less. FanDuel seems to price their goalies more towards the Vegas line. I'm sure Edmonton's a pretty big favorite, so I'm guessing you're going to get Hellebuck a little less than that even. So I don't hate him for GPPs. I don't think I want to play Mike Smith if he plays. His price is, he's 7,900. He's not terrible. So you know what? I don't mind playing Smith either. There's not a lot of goalies I want to play on this slate, so you're going to have to play someone. So Hellebuck and Smith, both goalies should see a ton of shots. And probably the better one to play would be Smith because he's most likely going to get the win bonus. But either way, in tournaments, I don't mind either one of them.
Yeah, like you mentioned, there should be a high shot volume game is the highest over-under on the board at 6. As we roll into the final game on the slate for tomorrow, we got the Blues and we got the Avalanche. Absolute clinic put on by the Avs last night as they ended up winning, 5-2, I think? Or 4-1. They won 4-1. But yeah, I mean, this game is kind of the series price for the Avs is actually astronomical right now. It moved from minus 335 before game 1. Now it's at minus 1,000, which is insane. Blues jumped up all the way up to plus 600. We got the Avs as another monster favorite tomorrow night. You're getting minus 335 on DraftKings, plus 267 on the money line for the Blues. Over-unders at 5.5, minus 110. Spread, does a spread even get you? It doesn't even get you in the plus category for the Avs. You're still getting minus 121 on a minus 1.5 cover. Man, it's going to be a tough one to bet. I mean, from what I saw like last game, I kind of like the Avs on the puck line. Throughout the season, though, the Avs weren't great on the puck line, right? Out of the 16 playoff teams, they are 15th on the puck line profit this season. Only behind them was St. Louis, so two of the worst puck line teams this season.
It's telling you not to play it. Basically.
Right, exactly. It's telling you that both teams are not good at covering, and one of these teams is going to have some dumb luck into covering this puck line. I mean, the Avs has no value on the series price at this point. They're going to win the series. There's no point in even trying to get the value on St. Louis. If anything, and I was just talking to Johnny Jansen on Fox Philly Radio. If you want to take the Blues and the money line either tonight and then game 3 or game 4, if you take them 2, you're going to come out on top on profit. You're going to come out profitable because if you bet the Blues at plus 275 tomorrow and they lose just one unit, but then you bet them at plus, let's say they get plus 200 at home game 3, you're still up a unit if that hits. So if you want to have a strategy to get some profit in this series, I don't see any value in taking the Avs at minus 335. If anything, I would take the Avs minus 1.5 tomorrow and hope they just absolutely crush the Blues again. Or if you want to try and get some money on the Blues side of it, you take the Blues in the money line. Hope they win tomorrow, and if they don't, run it back game 3. Hopefully they'll win game 3 and not get swept. That'd be my approach to betting this series. But for the most part, most of these prices are just completely out of range. DFS side, I mean, the McKinnon, Rantanen, Landeskog line went off. So, I mean, are we rolling with them again?
You kind of have to. And that, it gives you, again, I mentioned McDavid's ownership might be higher. You haven't played him in a week. So it's like you want to play McDavid. So that's why he's ownership. And it makes McKinnon a little less owned. And when you play in tournaments, what do you want? You want ownership. So you want a guy who's going to be lower owned. I think McKinnon kind of slides in maybe at 15, 20% instead of his usual 30%. So that line, obviously. But you can – I mean, I don't mind any of the top 3 lines from Colorado. And so any of those 3 lines line 2 with Don scoring now. He was on line 3 going into last night. He's now playing with Kadri and Burakovsky. So that I actually like Donskoy much more because he's playing the second line, which means probably get more ice time, and he's still on the first power play unit with the big 3. So Donskoy is probably one of the best value plays on the slate because he's cheap and he's playing now with the big boys on the power play. For St. Louis, I mean, if you want to play Blues,
you don't want to play Blues. It's just that simple.
I mean, are they gonna get shut down every single game? Probably not.
No, they'll have one. They'll have one game.
They'll probably pick up a goal or 2 on Wednesday night. It's most likely going to come from their top line with O'Reilly, Schwartz, and Shen. So, worst case, you want to play a power play stack and be a little bit different. I don't love playing Bozak or Barbashev, who plays with Tarasenko. So maybe you take Braden Shen out and run Tarasenko with Schwartz and O'Reilly, or run a Tarasenko, O'Reilly, Krug stack or something for a power play. Actually, Schwartz doesn't play in the first power play, and I forgot. So Shen does. If you want to play a 3-forward one, O'Reilly, Shen, and Tarasenko. If not, run Tarasenko with O'Reilly and Krug. But in all honesty, I'm probably going to set my exposure to the Blues very low, just because I don't see them paying off.
Agreed. I think it's going to be tough to really ride the Blues, especially with the projections on the Avalanche dominating the series. We got a Penguins win for Vecchio. Game just ended, so good news there. This is What the Puck, episode 3, preview for Wednesday's games. You got Keith Cav Jr., you got Vecchio. This will be going live on all the Win Daily Sports platforms. Follow at Win Daily Sports for all your DFS and betting needs. The boys are going to be winning some money, so we hope you guys can too. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see everyone tomorrow.
Later.